Good evening from Mumbai. I'm Elsa Marie De Silva, founder and CEO of Red Dot Foundation. Welcome to Sunday Reflections. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've had a very restful weekend, and welcome to everyone who's joining from different parts of the world. Thank you for always, encouraging me with your feedback. So, as you know, Sunday Reflections is meant to showcase some amazing members that I come across in various networks that I'm part of. And today I have with me Attorney Girija Varma. She is from my Chevening network. Hi, Girija, how are you? Welcome from Delhi or Gurgaon, is it?
Hi, hi Elsa. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you and know you better because I've seen the great work you've done with other people and giving them opportunities to speak. I think it's a great opportunity for me. So thank you so much. It also gives me an opportunity to speak my mind out and be listened to, which is a very important thing in life, I think. So thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Girija.
Elsa.
Thank you, Girija. One of the reasons why I do this is because not many women, even if they are very accomplished, get enough of airtime. As you can see, on TV or in conferences, it's always male panels, I would say like 90% are male speakers. And when there are so many accomplished women around, therefore, one of the things that I like doing is promoting women and their work in various fields to also showcase that there are women out there are women experts, and that organizers of panels and conferences must make an effort to have diversity. And it's laziness on their part if they say they couldn't find anyone. So it's becoming unacceptable now to have anything less than 50% diversity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's a great initiative and an opportunity. Yeah.
So great. So you're an attorney, arbitrator, litigator, and mediator. That is a lot. Can you share a little bit about your work with us, and what got you started on this journey?
Okay, so I started as a generalist lawyer, like any lawyer, trying to find their way in the legal profession. And but then I went into a specialization which was in intellectual property law, and I did a fair amount of litigation work there as well as corporate work. And as I moved along, I started also getting opportunities to do more commercial and corporate work. And one of the things I realized that, as a lawyer, there comes a time when you're repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again. So I was doing litigation in intellectual property and commercial law, but there was standard litigation that I was doing. What would be a career path for me or a growth for me after doing a fair amount of interesting litigation? Of course, one is to grow that further, and besides that, I thought also it could be acquiring new skills. So one of the things that I did is I got trained as a mediator, which requires very specific skills, and I also developed my path to be an arbitrator, which gives me the opportunity to stand at a different place in the legal profession and develop that area of law as well, because now I'm not only representing a client as a counsel, as a litigator, I can also be deciding a matter between which is being disputed between two parties by writing a certain award for them as an arbitrator. And then comes the mediator skills, which is helping parties communicate, helping parties bridge their disputes, their relationships, and find a solution for themselves. So it's been a lot of hard work, I would say, because you have to develop these skills, and the more you practice these, the better you become at them. So that's how I would advise anybody who wants to go into this line, that they develop these skills as well. I've lost your voice. Sorry, I've lost your voice, Elsa. Yeah.
Thank you. I put myself on mute. So I forgot to unmute myself. But I was saying
Okay.
that from tomorrow, I'm actually starting a mediation course with the German Federal Foreign Office. but it's slightly different. It's not law.
Okay.
It's peace, mediation, and crisis diplomacy. Because I'm a Rotary Peace Fellow, but I'm also part of the Global Diplomacy Lab, and we have this new concept called Track 4, where we are trying to get multi-stakeholders into the process. Everybody knows about Track 1, Track 1.5, 2, and 3, but 4 is a new form of diplomacy that the German Federal Foreign Office is developing. So I'm quite excited. It's a different form of mediation. And I do believe that at this point in time, when courts are backlogged and the justice system takes forever to find solutions or give judgments, arbitration, mediation are very valid options for people and organizations and companies. So thank you for that.
Yes.
And I think it's going to become even more important going forward. Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the legal system is overburdened. It's expensive, and I think it takes a toll on on the litigants quite a bit. So mediation is a very good option. And as businesses grow and we are looking at entrepreneurship, we are looking to build in more new kind of businesses. I think it's very important to build good relationships as well. And a legal battle can only spoil your relationship. So mediation is a good option, and it can be at any stage. It can be pre-litigation, it can be post-litigation, it could be when you're negotiating a contract, or you've disputed, you fought, you've been into court, you've been into criminal cases, and then you finally say, no, listen, I've had enough of this, and let's settle our disputes. So it can be at any stage. So I think that is the way to go. And in fact, many governments and countries are looking at this seriously. The UN has come up with there's been a new convention in Singapore, the Singapore, Convention on Mediation, where they're looking at cross-border and commercial disputes very seriously to be sorted out through mediation. So they are good options. It's a very self-driven kind of a code of dispute resolution for parties, because they have to voluntarily agree to this path, and it is considered to be, as of now at least, more cost effective and quick. So why not opt for it? And I think it can be done online. Of course, there are many times when you are communicating, is better to be face to face, but you can be face to face on technology as well. So it can help, or it can even it can be a challenge sometimes, but I think it would work still.
Tell us a little bit about this new, not new, but all of us have had to adapt during COVID-19. And so, of course, the justice system also has moved to the online format. How has been that experience for you?
To tell you the truth, it's been very enjoyable, because firstly, it's I think it takes away my time, the travel time, and the hassle of getting to first my chambers and then get to the courtroom. And I spend so much time doing all of that, and so much time is spent on administrative, handling of stuff. I think that gets reduced. It's much more easier to do an online form of, having a court hearing. One of the things that, of course, is which is very unusual, is you have the judges looking right into your face and you're looking right into their face, which has never happened in the legal profession, because we are sitting far apart from each other. So it's interesting to do that. But it also gives you the feeling that you're being heard much better by the judge, because his attention is completely focused by you. They are not, doors opening and other lawyers coming in and a lot of noise and mobiles ringing. So all of that is cut out. So it's a much better form. I think it also brings in more transparency. But the challenges that we face are that very often the technology doesn't work to the best. There are systems which are breaking down. In between hearings, we've had, the audio is not working, or the video has gone down. So it kind of defocuses you from your arguments. And then the second challenge is, of course, we as lawyers are used to having a court clerk with you, and juniors with you who are helping you with your files, and they're opening pages for you and, handing you over the case law and all. That becomes a bit of a challenge, because now I have like 4 chairs around me with all my material all set out there. So I have to handle it like that. So that's a bit of a challenge. And of course, I feel that the government needs to come up with some policies to improve technology, the whole video conferencing system. Your telecom system needs to be better ramped up. I think that's very, very important. And it could become the future of India, to have a good, technology-driven dispute resolution system. I think it can be done, and it could possibly be an answer in the future for our overburdened courts as well, if this could really work out well. I'm sure a lot of lawyers are not going to agree with me. They have their challenges because some people are not technology savvy. They find it difficult. Even there are some lawyers who don't even have, laptops, computers. But if the government takes it up, I think they can find ways and means to make it a better form of, handling the court system, and it would definitely help them better. Because after having done it, I think there are challenges, and you know what it is, but it's also quite, it's not just completely that you're lost. You're quite comfortable with the system.
Girija, you raise a very important point that certain infrastructure upgrades are necessary for this new work from home model, because it is going to take a while for us to go back to maybe physical infrastructure. So when we are talking about future of work, especially in your profession, do you see this going to be the way forward, or a hybrid model even when things settle down? Because there is a certain efficiency given if the bandwidth problems are sorted, if the tech issues are sorted. Do you see that this hybrid model of having online courts might be a way, might become institutionalized in the future as well?
I think it should be a hybrid model, because there are two things as a lawyer, two or maybe more, but one of the two things I would highlight is the court system, where you're handling your matters before the judge, and then there is a element where you're socializing with lawyers and your clients. That's equally important, because that's where your work comes in from, and that's where you get to interact, and people get to know you, and you get your work from there. So that's equally important. And I think when a lawyer goes to the courtroom, to the courts, he or she spends probably a few hours doing their court work, but besides that, there's a lot of networking they do. So the hybrid system would be a better option, because you need both these things. And also, a hybrid system would take into consideration those lawyers who cannot handle technology very well. But there, I feel the government can help. They can have maybe centers around different areas where they have technology, a room full of technology, and you can have a VC system, and it can be working. It would mean a lot of ramping up a change, but it could be an answer to our overburdened courts as well, and more efficiency in the system.
Yeah, I think that's great. And honestly, COVID-19 has forced a lot of people who were technology averse to now start using it. I do believe that in a very digital world, uh, there's no excuse to not be at least familiar with basic tech. And I see this is going to be part of our work life for a long time, because travel and commuting is going to be rethought about, especially if you have to take flights or even long distances. So I mean, during COVID-19 we've seen that the earth has replenished herself, because all of us have been stuck at home, the air quality has improved, and so on and so forth. So there really is a case to see how we can be more environmentally conscious yet inclusive. And again, coming back to inclusivity, and this, I guess a lot of people are left behind because they don't have that infrastructure. So you make a very valid point that the government must invest in it, especially in education as well, not just in the essentials like the court system, but also in education. But given your work in intellectual property, and given that a lot of work now is done online, cross border, etc., how do you think our laws are equipped or updated enough to manage the various complexities that come from this kind of work, which is cross border, which is cyber, which is virtual, etc.?
I think that had come in way back in time. COVID has only made us realize that now, I think, but it has come in way back in time. And you can see more cyber crime, you can see more cyber issues, you can see how information is, you can see information being, all kinds of information exploding all over the place. So I think those things came in much before. It's now the handling of it, which is, what is intellectual property, I think. How do you protect it? How do you enforce it? Where are the lines? This is your intellectual property or this is my intellectual property. I think that's been a question and will remain a question for a long time on the internet, on the virtual world, because it's very hard to draw the lines as to who owns what. So those are questions which are also, growing in our field of intellectual property and developing there. At the same time, I think with the COVID coming in, I think I've met or spoken to so many people over the last few months who've come up with innovative forms of business, with different kind of businesses. I mean, it's amazing to see what creativity can do and what all people can think about to, build their businesses. So I think COVID may have had its own downsides in a big way, but it's also had a lot of positivity coming out of it.
Can you share
And
some of
that's going
the
to go on.
examples of those innovative businesses?
Yeah, there was just yesterday I was speaking to this lady who's come up with this agro-tech business where she's now an advisory to farmers as to what kind of material they should be using in growing certain products and how that can improve the efficiency and the quality of the product. So she's in a very different space. She's not a farmer, she's not, but she's in an agro-tech business, which is different completely. And she's, using technology and her knowledge of agriculture together to build this kind of her company. Then there was another person who I met who was, dealing only with lingerie wear, and she's only doing fittings and trying to see how the best you can do that. So it's amazing that, I didn't even know somebody like that existed, and her business revolves around that. So, there are new forms of businesses that have come about. And there's somebody who's doing something in the art space where they're promoting artisans. Well, it's been around for a long time, but their mode of operating now has changed, how they can do it more online. So I see that there are a lot of people who are coming up with new forms of innovation. Either they existed and they never was seen around, either that's the case, or COVID has got them to think and do things differently.
That's really interesting. I have a friend of mine who's based out of the Caribbean, and she does lingerie fittings. Her business is called Miss Brafit. So yeah. I always thought that was very unique, but and clearly it can be done online as well. So yeah.
So even for myself, I feel that I keep thinking now. It's given me the opportunity. The last few months, I've been thinking how I can change my thinking, my working style in the legal profession. So, new ideas and new thoughts have come into my mind, which probably I wouldn't have stopped and thought about them when I was, in my regular practice. You're just thinking about the next day's case and you're only thinking about that. You don't have the time So now you're thinking of new ways of doing legal business as well.
Very interesting. And I do believe there's always space for innovation and creativity. So
Yes.
good luck. And this time has given us a pause, or rather, it's forcing us to do things differently and also think about the situation differently. I wanted to ask you, some of your work has resulted in landmark judgments, right? So, can you share a little bit about which ones that you're most proud of?
Okay, I'll talk about two cases only. I'm not going to talk about the others, but one in the space of intellectual property. See, if you see a lot of cases in the Delhi High Court, are not when there's a litigation going on, the plaintiff party, who's the one who files the case, would go on with the litigation, and very often we find that the defendant, which is the party against whom the case has been filed, may not appear in court, and cases go on, and then you get a judgment. So you get an uncontested kind of a judgment. In this particular case that I was handling, it wasn't a very high-end product that I was handling, and there was an intellectual property issue there. It was contested. It was strongly contested for a few years, almost 3-4 years, and then I got a judgment where I could get good damages against that defendant party, which is quite unusual in the case law that we see. There are very few cases which get contested. If they get contested, then they get settled, generally. But here we could carry on the case and could get a good fair amount of damages for my client. So that's one of the cases. Now, the other interesting case that I think that will be more useful for a lot of people is a case under the Right to Information Act. I'm not going to name any parties here, but I'll just tell you the facts of the matter and how that's important for a lot of people, and how innovatively you can use the Right to Information Act. Now, the Right to Information Act is basically you ask for information against any government body or anybody funded by a government body. Now, in this case, there was this this gentleman whose wife had filed a case under 498A for dowry against her husband. And they had been married only for about 2 or 3 months. After that, she filed this case and she said, he's done dowry again. He owes me this much money because he claimed for dowry and I had to give him 10 lakhs of rupees. So the husband knew this was all false, but he didn't know what to do. So he went to the income tax authorities and he filed a right to information application there, asking them for her salary structure because she's a school teacher. He says she couldn't have given me 10 lakhs because she didn't even earn anything out of, her earnings were very small. So she's making a false claim. So that was a huge fight he had before the income tax authorities because it went through, various sections of RTI and they wouldn't give the information. And I think the wife knew somebody in the income tax department and it wasn't happening. Anyways, finally he went through, the various tribunals, which is the CIC, and he went through that. And then he came to the High Court to me when he said, listen, I need this because this is going to really prove my case. And 6 of his family members had been dragged into criminal proceedings because his father, his mother, his brothers and sisters were all pushed in. So he says, this is very important for me. And I handled his case and we were lucky to get a good hearing in the matter. And finally, the court said, yes, this information has to be given. And there was also a fine imposed on the income tax department because they had delayed it over these years. Probably the wife knew somebody there and she was somehow managing to delay the whole case. After that, they tried to appeal before the court, but the appeal also did not go through. So the husband was able to put that kind of pressure on his ex-wife and get the information that she was not earning that much. So there was no question of her giving 10 lakhs to him. He was absolutely able to prove that. I think within a few months, he got his divorce. She withdrew all her criminal complaints against him and he got remarried again. So I think the importance of right to information was very, very key here. And those were landmark judgments. I think it was aired also in the news and everywhere. So it was one of those important cases under that law.
I think that's a very unique way of using the Right to Information Act, and good luck to him, and kudos to you. So, can you share a little bit about the work you do on gender?
Well, I specifically haven't done much work on gender as such, but I've handled, issues for women, again, under the Right to Information Act when there has been a sexual harassment case in their organization. Or I've done cases where there have been, women who are trying to get a divorce, or there's domestic violence for them. Or I've handled cases for older women who are senior citizens and they are not being cared for by their family members. So those are generally the cases I've handled in terms of women's issues. It's not been my focus as such, but they happen to come to me because I've handled some of the cases in Right to Information or otherwise, or maybe a corporate client says, listen, could you help this lady or something? So I've done those kind of cases, but that's not been so much of my focus completely. I'm more of an IP lawyer, and I've helped maybe entrepreneur women to manage their IP to some extent. That's the kind of work I've done. Yeah.
So, coming back to that, and you recently, I think, was it or is it upcoming? I'm not sure, with Thai, where you are doing a session on IP for women entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, that was just yesterday. Yeah.
That was yesterday. I couldn't attend because we had our own event during that time. But can you share with everybody, like, why is it so important that entrepreneurs know about IP and, take the necessary measures for their businesses?
Okay, so my discussion with entrepreneur women or entrepreneurs in general, two important things that I would like them, to consider is firstly about intellectual property, because you should start protecting your intellectual property at the earliest. Time is a very big issue in intellectual property. So if you're the first user, you have built your business first, all of that is taken into consideration. So you should get your names protected, your intellectual property of various kinds protected at the earliest. So that's important. It also helps you to get in funding at any stage, as in when you require. If you have intellectual property, a lot of funders look at that very seriously. And once you start building your business and the word goes out in the public, if intellectual property gets infringed, you could be doomed. You could lose your entire business actually. So it's very important to get that protection. The other thing that I would tell entrepreneurs is that whenever they get into businesses, it's important that you get your contracts in place. You get your NDA signed, which is the non-disclosure agreement signed. These are important things. You don't think of them, necessary in the beginning, because you're having a great relationship and you say, okay, fine, everything looks hunky-dory. But when we go into court, we realize that so many loopholes are there and that can create so many problems for you in the future. You could avoid those issues. So when I was talking to the entrepreneurial women yesterday, my topic was basically on dispute resolution actually and mediation. So what I was trying to tell them is that, you could have conflict even in initial stages of your business relationship before you sign up an agreement. So you should be negotiating your terms and you should be having a form of, sometimes you could even bring in a mediator to help you draw up your agreement when you're getting into a huge business relationship with somebody, so that you get your terms clearly out, you know what your responsibilities are, what the deliverables are, what are the timelines, what are the forms of dispute resolution in case a dispute happens subsequently. So that is what we were talking yesterday. So for entrepreneurs, it's very important that they get these documentation done in the beginning. And then, of course, then there is also government compliances that you should get done, which is important.
So my, question to you is, first-time entrepreneurs, is there a um, gender angle to naivety and maybe ignorance as well. So, like for example, um, do you see that more women don't really know how to navigate the space, or is it, across the board? And I'm saying it because I hear of so many stories where either the business was initially started with a spouse, or maybe with a boyfriend, or with somebody else, and then things go sour in your personal relationship, and of course it affects your professional, but then it, like you said, businesses are destroyed. And maybe if it's the creative arts, then it's like, who owns what, and how do you take credit, especially if it then becomes a bestseller?
Well, I think it cuts both ways. Let me say, when I say it both ways, I'd say that yes, it's difficult to be an entrepreneur on your own, but very often it's also difficult to survive as a woman in a, like my profession. It's difficult to be, isolated and working within the legal profession. So sometimes I feel I would be better off as an entrepreneur because I'll start something on my own and I'll do it on my own. But at the end of the day, yes, I will have to still meet with those people and deal with them and work with them. So yeah, there is a bit of a gender bias. I think you get into the space thinking I'll do it on my own because I'll be away from all this bias that I find in the profession, or wherever I'm working in a company or an organization, and my creativity is not being used to the best. I'll do something on my own and I should be, it's going to be great, which is fine. But then when you start facing the world with that entrepreneurship, it has difficulties. It does, because when you have to get, you're going to interact with, say, CEO of other companies, or you're going to with other, chartered accountants, and you have to deal with all of them, and finance people or the government. Then those biases come back, and then it becomes a little difficult sometimes to survive. Having done my own profession myself, I think there are challenges like that. You do. I mean, it's difficult for us to sit, and sit over a drink for hours together and get somebody to say, okay, listen, give me this business or something. It's viewed very differently in this country. So it becomes difficult. It's a challenge. And then even sometimes when you need to approach, say, the government, maybe the police department, there are certain departments like that. I shouldn't say only police alone, but many other, where they view a woman differently. They do, because the thanedar there or the constable there is from a different background. So he sees you differently, he deals with you differently, and you find it difficult to handle them sometimes.
How do you take care of yourself? What's your self-care routine?
Well, I get up very early in the morning, so I try to finish my reading and writing as early as possible. Yeah, I've been lax on my exercises, but yes, I used to walk regularly earlier. I'm trying to get back into that routine now. And I'm very particular about what I eat. So I think over the last 3 or 4 months has given me the opportunity to completely revamp myself and rehaul myself. My way of dressing, my way of eating, everything has changed. I have my, preventives, as they say. I believe in that prevention is better than cure. So I find ways to do that. And one of the things which I feel very important, I think, in the COVID time is to maintain humor. It's so important to do that. So if I chat with a friend and there is a funny joke, or we can have a 5 minutes of laugh, I think it changes my whole perspective for the day. And I think that's very, very important. And the more you can do that, the better it is. And then spending a bit of time reading, and that's very important. I feel that helps. And chatting, say, with friends. So that's how the routine is. It keeps me mentally and physically, I think, in a happier space.
What advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
Oh, well, that's a hard one. 16-year-old self, yeah. I would say that do as much as whatever you want to do it early enough in life, as much as you can. And whatever you're interested in, pursue your interests. Don't give them up, because you do tend to give them up as you move along with work or with families and all that. You must maintain one thing that you enjoy doing for half an hour, maybe every day. Is something that you must maintain doing that, whatever
That,
that may be.
that's great. And what
Yeah, even if it means chatting with on the phone or with a friend or watching a movie or doing anything trashy that you want to do, but retain that part of you, because that, I think, keeps you, I think, looking forward to something.
Yeah. And what's next for you?
Well, I would like to, yeah, expand my practice, and I would like to do more international work. I'm doing some of it now, but yeah, I do miss going internationally and meeting our companies and our clients there. But yeah, I would like to do that more. That's one of the things. And then I want to travel. The moment this COVID lifts up, I think everybody's dying to travel for a bit, and get out and travel somewhere.
You and I are both Chevener's, and the Chevening Fellowship is going to open up the application process shortly, this week actually. So, how did the Chevening Fellowship help you?
Oh, I think it was one of the most interesting times, because it gave me the opportunity to be in a different country, in a different culture, and understand a different legal system. I had worked for a bit, so going back and learning all of that was a wonderful experience. I think the other wonderful experience was being 12 of us together, moving together, having our fights, being together, doing things together. It was really an enjoyable time. I think I would go back and do that again if given an opportunity. It would be so much. I would tell anybody to go for a Chevening scholarship like that. And the best part is, of course, the money is taken care of. So then, it's a very nice experience. And I think educationally, it taught me a lot of things. The practical side, how other systems function, which are more advanced, that time were much more advanced than India. So it was a great opportunity.
Which
And I look
fellowship
back
did you do?
into the Chevening British Council Scholarship for young lawyers.
Okay, great. So I did the Chevening Gurukul. We were also 12 from India. Was yours
Uh-huh.
all Indians?
Yeah. All
Okay.
Indians, yes. You were not.
No,
Huh?
Gurukul, yes. 12 Indians, yeah.
Okay.
So
And they were from different parts of India.
different parts of India, 4 from government, 4 from private sector, and then 4 from development. So quite a mixed bunch as well. And ours was at Oxford University. So it was an amazing, amazing experience. I would
Yes.
definitely recommend it. So all those listening, please head to the Chevening website and set a reminder for when it opens and apply.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it was really God sent in some ways. And that's something that was one of the most enjoyable experiences of my life.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Girija. It was wonderful chatting with you. And thank you for sharing your Sunday evening with me. I've learned so much from you, this little conversation, but I hope we can collaborate at some point. And thank you once again, and stay safe, stay healthy during COVID.
Thank you, Elsa. And I look forward to being in touch with you. And thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.